Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We are sitting here recording on an early Saturday morning. As you guys know, I generally don't record on the weekends, but I had to make an exception. We have a UNLV basketball alum in the building who's in town. He is also a former high school McDonald's All-American. For those who went to college with me, you guys will be very familiar with Jelan Kendrick. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
It's incredible that you've been in town, and it's so funny because I used to go to your UnXommon events back in the day over at Commonwealth, and now to be sitting here talking to you is an incredible feeling. It's almost bringing back my UNLV days. And as I showed you, I have a nice fat head of Dave Rice, who is your coach in here. So it's kind of a nice throwback.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to take a picture of that throwback. Of that fat head and send it to him. He's going to love it.
So what brings you out here to Las Vegas?
So basically, I'm just out here like working out in front of a few teams, overseas teams and whatnot, training, basically seeing some old friends before I leave off for my season coming up.
So do you feel a sense of nostalgia every time you come back out into Vegas?
Oh, yeah. This is a place that I had the pleasure of calling home and building so many relationships and really a family foundation here. So just to come back and hang out and have fun and feel that that it's like a feeling, F-I-L-L.
Ah, yes.
It's a feeling. Like, sometimes like when I'm back home in Atlanta, even though I was raised there, some of my peak years, college years are very important. And so some of the friends that I had in middle school or high school, we didn't experience college together. So like that bond is like a little different. But when I come here, like these are all the people that I bonded with in college. So like it's always like amazing to be around that energy and go grab a beer and go talk, and not to do anything like insane, but just to be around that good energy is just amazing. Sometimes I'm back home and I'm like feeling empty, or I'll go to a bar and like everybody's dressed in like their college gear watching the game, and I'm like sitting at the bar eating my chicken wings, like drinking a beer by myself with my UNLV t-shirt. So no Rebels in the building, you know what I mean? So it's just amazing to get back here and just feel that positive energy.
It's awesome to see that you still have that connection with the Las Vegas community, because some people tend to just see Vegas as just a small fraction of their life. Some people like to embrace the nature, because Vegas, it's a land of opportunity. You can potentially be whoever you want, and it's easy to connect with people. But just give everyone a brief description of who Jelan Kendrick is, a little bit about your childhood and how you ended up in Vegas, or we'll say why you decided to attend UNLV and play basketball.
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of background about myself. I was raised in Atlanta, Georgia, grew up in a suburb in Atlanta called College Park. Played there, played basketball, came from a good family. Mom and dad were amazing. Got amazing brothers. The community helped raise me and kind of chisel me into a halfway decent basketball player, I'd say. Got an opportunity to play in the All-American games and McDonald's All-American game and Jordan Brand All-American game and meet Michael Jordan and play on the USA teams and stuff like that. And fast forward and had an opportunity to play up under Coach Heath Schroyer and Dave Rice here at UNLV. Took a visit here, came to a game, man, and was just like floored by the energy that the Thomas and Mack Arena could have, and the being a part of the biggest show to me in America, because like not many shows in America are getting 20,000 people to it on a nightly basis or every time they have an act. And I do think we're a show, because if we didn't play well, they would boo us. So just doing that was just amazing. So now I'm overseas basketball player. So did the nightlife thing in Vegas for a little bit. Tried to help create like a downtown culture with me and my friends, and I think we did a pretty darn good job. Coming back, it was funny. Like we was going to bars. It was like, do y'all remember when people did not want to come down here
at all back then? It was definitely it was much sketchier back then.
It was much sketchier, especially like because I'm not saying like we're the only. I think we just we're a very small fish in a pond that helped kind of like cultivate that downtown culture. But I do think we had like a hand in like bringing that college vibe and that young millennial vibe to downtown, and like throwing like cool events, and like just being a part of that is really amazing. Like it was so many groups that were doing amazing things, and just to know that UnXommon was one of those.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've been to Commonwealth recently or visited while you've been down here, but now it's all young kids. Now
Really?
it's pretty much everyone who's there is under 30. And so they've really become almost like the nightclub of downtown.
Yeah.
Commonwealth has. They have events Monday, I think almost every day.
What?
Yeah, they bring in different DJs, different artists. And so they've really like upped their game ever since then. And now when you go to downtown on the weekends, the company who owns Commonwealth actually bought a lot of those surrounding bars.
Called Corner Bar.
Corner Bar Management, yeah. So they bought a bunch of those. They did Disco Pussy. They're doing like some ice cream shop next to them and a few other ones. And it's literally all just young kids out there hanging out. That's where I go. I don't even go to nightclubs anymore.
That's crazy.
So you were one of the pioneers to help bring that into fruition.
Yeah. Me and all my good friends. I mean, like I didn't do UnXommon by myself. Like it was a bunch of us. It was amazing to.
Was that your first shot at entrepreneurship or building something outside of the athletic department?
I mean, no, I think my whole entire life I was somewhat of a like hustler. Like, I was the kid that would sell hot dogs and candy
Pull this a little closer to you.
and candy and try to be in competition with the neighborhood candy lady. So the first time I experienced kind of like an entrepreneurial kind of like background is my mom bought a 12-pack of hot dogs for $1 and brought them home. She went off to work. She comes back home and there's like a line of kids outside. And she's like, "Wow, are these kids outside? Get these kids from out in front of my door. What are you doing? Why are you selling all our good food?" And I'm like, "Well, look, Mom. So you bought these 12 hot dogs for $1. I'm selling each hot dog for $1. So like we're making $12 per pack." And she's like, "What?" Goes to the store, buys me so many hot dogs. I become like the neighborhood like hot dog seller. And I was bringing in bank. My profit margins were crazy, obviously. And so I think that was like my first taste of kind of like doing something like to make money outside of basketball. And that was like when I was 12. So to grow and kind of keep that mentality and start doing other ventures, giving back in the community, being involved, always trying to challenge myself to do something fun, to make sure I never just felt like an athlete and an athlete only, because that's a very tough, like we talked about earlier, like some people that are in certain industries, they get to a certain age and they're lost because they've only identified themselves as something that is a game that is limited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like who wants to be 80 in the club passing out drinks?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, even the club owners are like, "Boy, get out of here, girl. There ain't no room for you." It's the exactly same thing with athletes. Unfortunately, your athletic abilities diminish over time. As much as we would like to be the superstar athlete in our 50s and 60s, it's just not how biology is.
It's not how biology is. And like, how do you identify with things outside of basketball if you've never tried to do anything that challenges your athletic abilities? Like, okay, cool, take a year off of basketball, do something else. Like, see if you're just a good person and you attract good people, or if only people attract to you because of athletics.
It's so true. The traditional mold of an athlete was pretty much just an athlete, and some of those athletes would get sponsorship deals or advertisements and commercials. But it seems like now most athletes, maybe this is because social media and there's more tools, are diving into entrepreneurship. They're extending themselves into NFTs or different businesses, and now college athletes can get paid. So I think that's only going to further increase this trend of entrepreneur and athletes, not just athletes.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that new rule is like amazing. Like I couldn't even imagine like thinking about signing sponsorship deals from out of high school into college.
So you were in college during the time where you weren't allowed to get paid or take any sort of offers. Was it tough throughout that entire college experience with the lack of money or maybe sometimes resources as it's portrayed in the media?
I definitely think it was tough as an athlete. Not all the time for me. It definitely could have been easier. I mean, you think about certain student athletes that are really good, that are bringing in this campus tons of money, or selling jerseys or selling tickets, and their mom lives on the East Coast and she or he can't afford to buy them a flight to see the game. It's illegal if the school that he's made millions and millions of dollars for can't buy a $300 plane ticket so his mom can come see her child play, which is insane to me. You know what I mean? Or a kid, because you don't have time for a job. You know what I mean? You're an athlete. You're going to school, you're working out, you're going to school, working out. That's all. That's your entire life. And maybe throw a party in there, here, there. So you have no time for to make any substantial money. So there are times where your stipend runs out because you don't know how to manage money because you're young. And I think that's one thing that colleges should provide for college athletes. Hey, money managing class. Like, how do you manage your stipends? Because we get decent stipends. How do you build your credit while you're in college? Because this is the perfect time to give it. Because the college is giving you money. Like, you know what I mean? How do you pay your rent with your credit card? And how do you write off stuff on your taxes? Like, how do you build points because we fly everywhere on Delta? Like, these are things that I think college athletes should know and should be taught because that's what they want to do as a career. You know what I mean? And it's so funny how when someone expresses, hey, I want to be an athlete as a career, everyone goes, oh, well, you know, only a certain percent. But it's like if I told you I want to be a doctor, you'd be like, oh, man, I love that. You're a great kid.
Even though that's probably a similar percentage.
It's probably a very similar percentage. And both of them are dated. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. You're a doctor. You made $200,000 over the next 30 years. Okay, this guy wanted to be a basketball player. He made $100 million in 6 years. You know what I mean? Like, that's why wouldn't a kid want to inspire to go down that path? And like, why isn't there things set up to educate people that want to be athletes so that they can handle their money well, so that they can be in the community more, so they can do more good? I don't know. It's just always been like funny how that stigma on athletes.
Isn't it? It's strange how financial literacy has been suppressed through all the educational models, even throughout our youthful years in K through 12. They don't teach anything about financial literacy. And then it's the same in college, but you have to pay for financial literacy. So it's like, it seems so ass backwards.
Yep. They don't want you to know how to handle your money, I guess.
How would you describe your experience as a UNLV basketball player under Dave Rice?
It was amazing. It was an adjustment because Coach Rice is such a nice guy. He's the sweetest guy in the world. I mean, it was insane how nice and genuine and loving and caring he was as a coach. But I also think that sometimes being that nice and caring can not be as good. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of can be detrimental because you're a leader. And like, sometimes you need that raid and you need that, hey, what the heck is going on, fellas? Like, let's go, lock in. You know what I mean? And like, there were times where we would get that fire from him. And like, those were times where we would beat teams like Arizona. And there was times where we didn't because he was just naturally so laid back and cool. But my experience at UNLV was second to none because of the fans. I got to play up under Coach Rice and Coach Augman, and my teammates were super fun. They were super chill. They all doing really cool stuff now, whether it be playing overseas, playing in the NBA, or doing entrepreneurial stuff. Like, so it's just a blessing to be a part of like that culture. And then, as you know, like, basketball was fun. Like, we're getting 18,000 plus people to games, and you know, gyms was rocking. So that energy.
Making the tournament helps too.
Oh, that energy is insane. So I'm really looking forward to Coach Kruger bringing that energy back and really turning this program around because I know he can do it.
What about Dave Rice's recruiting skills is so superior to seemingly some of the preceding coaches thereafter? Because Dave Rice always had a top recruiting class. I mean, you were a high school McDonald's All-American, so he had some sort of influence. What is it about his recruiting style that was able to attract in so many top-level talent players?
Like I said, he's a nice guy. He's respectable, and he's very knowledgeable about the game. So like you're intrigued by him because you're not understanding, you know, what's going on. You're like, is he mean? Is he really this nice? Like, he's super smart. He actually knows what he's talking about, and he's caring. He cares about you. You know what I mean? Like, I can hit up Coach Rice right now, and he responds in 5-10 minutes. He's like, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? So I think those are things that people took into account when coming to play for him. And he had great guys around him. Coach Augman, amazing coach. Coach Heath Schroyer, amazing. Ryan Miller, amazing. Todd, amazing. Like, the people that he had around him. So once you met him, who was the head of the snake, and then you met everyone else, like, you're like, oh man, this is a win-win situation. Like, I could change my life by attending this university and playing up under a coach such as him.
Yeah, Dave was an incredible person. That's why I stole that fat head. Like, Dave, you're gonna be with me forever, man. Yeah, you haven't left. You're on our fraternity house for a little while, so a lot of people got a nice view of it. You played guard, correct?
Yeah.
Do you continue to play guard now overseas as well? Same position?
Yeah, I definitely still play point guard and shooting guard overseas. I've tried to play the 4 or the 5 like once. I struggled. I'm not big or strong enough. I don't understand it. I can play it, but I just get depleted by playing it. So I just play my natural position, which is 1 and 2.
Did you go straight into international basketball upon graduating for UNLV, or was there some down period where you decided to do something else?
Yeah, so there's some down period, and that's kind of like the time where I kind of started UnXommon. So when I left UNLV, I had a bunch of NBA workouts that I thought went really well. My agent at the time told me I crushed them. Played against some guys that were lottery picks and high picks in the upcoming draft, and like I bested them. And so that draft, I figured I wouldn't get drafted. But after that, I was like, okay, cool. I can get either on a summer league team or a G League team or something like that. And just the perception behind me was very like jaded in some ways. And some of these NBA teams were like, hey, you know, maybe let's give us some time. And so it kind of like hurt my feelings. You know, I kind of like was down about it. Going through like I think an identity crisis of some sort, very young, because I'm like, oh, well, who am I without basketball? On the couch for days at a time, not really knowing what to do. Because, I mean, being an All-American, the pressure of that, everyone expects you to be a millionaire in a year. Like everybody has already picked out their car, their house. They've already moved in with you. They've already traveled the world with you. Like you've already paid for all of this stuff, even though you've done nothing. Like mentally, you've done it all. So when it doesn't happen, you either face it head on. Some people hide. You know what I mean? Like, and what I chose to do is I hid. I didn't want people to see me, because if you see me, oh, what are you doing now? I'm like, nothing. Oh, you're not playing basketball? You're not in the NBA? Like, no. Oh, okay. And like that conversation was just so like depleting that I like hid from it for some time, and because I thought I was only defined by basketball. So then I started working at Topgolf in Atlanta, which was insane. I walk into Topgolf and like, I'm getting a job, like a real job, $8 an hour. Like I got to work so much for this check. And so worked at Topgolf. It taught me so much, and so many people are doing so many things that I was like friends with and worked with at Topgolf. Because you know, Topgolf, you gotta get selected. You gotta have a personality. It's more than just being an employee. And that started to kind of like get me out of my shell and started making me start to really understand that basketball didn't make me special. You know what I mean? Like there was something innately in me that made me special. And no matter what I did, I was going to be successful and I was going to like stand out. And so I went from working at Topgolf to like being a Bay host to like getting offered like a salary job in like the course of like less than like a year, to then moving back to Vegas and sleeping on a friend's floor. I don't know if you know DJ Paradise.
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine.
Josh, yeah. So slept on him and Brienne's floor. Because I had no money. I just moved. I like took my check from Topgolf and like just left. Moved out here to Vegas, slept on his floor for a while. And after that, I remember watching this Steve Harvey special that talked about how you should be thankful for everything. And like God can't possibly give you a mansion if you're not thankful for the shoebox that he has you in and all these things. And I was like, oh man, it's so cringy. But I started to change the way I thought about things, sleeping on that floor and not having that much money in my pocket. And during that same week, I got a call from a booster, which was Justin Winiger. He goes, hey man, we're hanging out tonight. You should come out. I go, oh, okay, man. One, I can't really remember how he got my number. No clue why he chose to call me right at that moment. Nothing. And I'm just like contemplating because I don't have that much money. Like I'm like less than $15 in my bank account. And the Uber was like $11. But long story short, I go hang out with Justin, man. Me, him, a few other friends, and we just had a ball, man. It was a fun time. He ended up offering me an opportunity to work up on the window at the time and kind of like do a Thursday night at Commonwealth or whatnot. And we did our first night, and me and, Ben Carter, and we did our first night, and it was a success. And I kind of never looked back from there. And that's how, I started to make my lane and built UnXommon from a night to like an online magazine to we were like managing DJs and like doing shows and cultivating like events and trying to build some type, some cool culture for our demographic. And it was going amazing. And everybody from UnXommon is doing amazing, amazing things, whether it be writing books, TikTok famous, like working for companies that they would love to work for, writing for Wall Street. Like it's amazing. So did that for a while. Was helping with Life is Beautiful and stuff like that and Commonwealth. And one day I just woke up, was like, hey man, you just quit basketball. You know that? Like you just quit. Like you can do this again, but like, what are you gonna tell your son or your daughter when they go, hey dad, like why you stop playing? Like you were so good. Like why'd you stop? And like my excuse is like, oh, like it hurt my feelings and somebody told me I wasn't that good of a person, but I know I'm a great person. But someone said it on an article one too many times, and like I decided to let it be a fact and stand. You know what I mean? Like these perceptions, like none of it's backed by any facts.
It's all opinions.
Yeah, it's all facts. And like these guys don't know me. You know what I mean? It's like some of the things they say is like, yo, it's hurtful. Like, what if I said this about your son without having any facts? Like, why don't you talk to me and try to get to know me? But that's not what it's built on. That's not how the industry makes their money sometimes.
Yeah, that's traditional media too. They profit off of fear. Right? That's what you see on Fox and CNN. It's the same idea, but sports writers, they do the same thing with what we call hit pieces.
Yep.
That's how they make their money, or at least get their attention.
Yeah. So I started to pursue basketball again and used all the money I made from like nightlife and events and all these things, and got my first gig making less than like $700 a month, and wasn't even getting paid that all the time. Like they would like not pay us some weeks, and like it was a real tough time financially. But I was with some really good people and had some really good friends here in Vegas that I surrounded myself with and persevered. And from there, I've just kind of like seen this steady progression in the game of basketball, making more money, going to more places, won a championship with Mighty Sports Philippines in Dubai. Like it's been amazing. I'm blessed.
That's an incredible story. I had no idea about that interlude in between. There's two different things about that story which popped out. Was first the amount of mental anguish that athletes go through from maybe not succeeding on the first try or having hit pieces wrote about them. And I would assume you're probably not the only one who suffers from that kind of like quarter life crisis after college, where you're in between either deciding to play for the NBA or pursue a life with your degree that you made or international basketball. But then also that you persevere, because some people just get down in the dumps and they quit and check it out. And especially out here in Vegas, where you could go work on the strip and make a decent wage.
Right.
But as you said, you didn't want that. You didn't want that. You wanted something more. How did you? I have this written down. You've played for about 5 or 6 international teams so far over the last handful of years. How did you make that transition from nightlife in Vegas to international basketball player?
It was just that. It was a decision. Like, I've become a strong believer in like making decisions, and like the middle work will take care of itself. You know what I mean? Like make a decision, set a goal. It's like I tell my nephew all the time. He told me one time, hey, look, I want to play in the NFL, and I go, okay, but what if you're not big enough? Well, what if you're not fast enough? Like, does that stop it? And like, if he goes, yeah, because I need to be big. And I'm like, well, that's a feeling. You feel like you want to be in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I said, but if you make a decision that you want to be in the NFL, none of that stuff matters. If people call you too small, I don't care. People say you're not big enough, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to the NFL. And so like, that's why you get guys like the wide receiver from Alabama who won the Heisman and was the top pick. People call him too small. Are you too short and too small to be a wide receiver? He proved everyone wrong.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, correct?
Yeah, it's like he proved everyone wrong because he made a decision that he was going to go to the NFL one day, and he didn't. He just did the work. He did the work, stayed the course. So for me, once I made that decision, one day I shifted everything. And I said, okay, cool. You have to rearrange your life. You have to rearrange how you think mentally. You've done nightlife, you've done business, you've done well in both. So now I approach basketball, one, as a business, because it is a business. Now it's a fun business, but approach it as a business. Come in, make sure you look the right way, make sure you talk to the right people, make sure your contracts look a certain way. You know what I mean? So I had a different perspective, as in when I was 20 years old coming out of college, or 22 years old, 21, however I was coming out of college. Like, I looked at it as a game, that I was something I was good at. And I never looked at it as a business. And some of my friends and teammates and guys that I played with in the McDonald's All-American game, they were treated as a business as a young age. You know what I mean? They were strategic. They talked to certain people. They did certain things. I didn't. I just was winging it. You know what I mean? So when I took that step back and kind of like re-entered it, my whole mental viewpoint on basketball had totally shifted. And I've seen success from it.
Yeah, you especially have. So throughout these various 6 teams, are these leagues based off of differing talent levels? Is there like what is the organizational structure to international basketball?
Yeah, so a lot of so we'll go by this. So like most teams usually allow about on average one to two imports. So people that aren't from their country or neighboring countries. So 1 to 2 imports. You have different tiers in some countries. Some countries have like a top league, a second league, and like a third league. Obviously, top league usually pays more unless you're like in places like Japan. Japan, their third league may pay just as much as their top league. You know what I mean? Because it depends on your owner, the team, where you are. It can switch up on you. Usually in Europe, top league pays the most. Then it goes down second league, third league, so on and so forth. Most Asian countries pay very well depending on where you're at. They usually have 1 or 2 leagues. And if they do have 2 leagues, the second league may pay just not as well as the first league, but not too far off. And basically a lot of times you are signing through these teams through like agents. So your agent may have a relationship with the agent in that, particular country. He goes, hey, look, man, I'm looking for a guard. So, okay, cool. What size and what all these credentials. And then you'll send over your profile and your film, and they'll decide if they want you or not. And if they don't want you, you get a call from your agent. He go, man, we got an opportunity. You go, okay, cool, man. And he'll call you back like, oh, yeah, they passed on it. You're like, dang it. So and then you get, hey, man, we got an opportunity. He's like, okay, cool, man, what's going on? Is it, shit, they passed on it. Like, dang it. And then one day you'll get a call and like, hey, man, this team out here, man, they're sending over the contract today. You go, yes. And maybe you have 3 or 4 of those contracts. You get to kind of like cipher through which one of those, fits you as an individual. Because I think as you start to play overseas, you start and get older, you start to realize just money doesn't move me. Like living situation. Place. Is it too cold? Is it too hot? You know what I mean? Like, what are the restrictions of this country? Can my mother come visit me in this country, or are women not allowed in this country? Like, you know what I mean? Do I need a work visa? Do my friends need a work visa? Like, you start to weigh so many different things. So then you'll see someone, instead of they'll take a couple $1,000s less to go somewhere they're way more comfortable of playing. They may go to the Caribbean or Dominican Republic and play. And, I get to sit on the beach and chill, and we practice once a week or twice a week. Because some countries you're practicing twice a day.
Oh, wow. Some
countries you're practicing twice a week. You know what I mean? Some countries you're playing 4 times a week. Some countries you're playing once a week, twice a week. So it's so many different things that make overseas basketball very interesting.
Yeah, that is. It's like an intricate game.
Yeah.
Wondering. I never took that realization or that aspect into realization. So that first international basketball game that you played, was it a surreal or eye-opening feeling playing in a different country surrounded by people that you don't know? Same with teammates that you had just become acquainted with recently?
Not really. I mean, like playing college basketball at UNLV kind of prepares you for any thing. You know what I mean? Like the fans that that you get here at UNLV, loving you, booing you, appreciating you, telling you suck, all those things. Like, it's all out of love. So to go to another country and play, it's not all that crazy. You know what I mean? But now there are certain countries that I haven't played in, but I've seen video and I'm like, that would be a very interesting. Like Panthiakos, like in Greece, I think. Like, I mean, you're talking about 30, 40,000 people sitting on the walkway. Like there's seats, walkways, everything's filled. Like, it's almost like a soccer game. Like, they're burning lights, they're burning flares, like it's smoke everywhere. Like, I've heard people get pennies thrown at them, batteries thrown at them. Like, I've heard people on the free throw line and lasers get pointed in their eyes. So like, those are hostile situations that I haven't got to experience yet, but I hope to. I mean, it seemed fun.
You did mention that you won a championship in Dubai, correct?
Yeah.
What was that experience like, especially since in Dubai, their treatment towards women is a little bit different than these other countries?
It was insane. So I was with, like I said, I was with Mighty Sports Filipinas. So a lot of the industry workers in Dubai come from the Philippines. And the Philippines had been participating, I think, this tournament for about 20 plus years and had never won it. Only Middle Eastern teams like, Lebanon and UAE, like these teams were winning these championships for the past 30 years. So for us to come in and play in front of what I think, are some of the best basketball fans in the world, which are, Filipino fans, like, to bring them that trophy and like the appreciation and love that they showed us was insane. Like, it was literally, one side was filled with all like, Filipino people, like beautiful people that embraced us so much. And the other side, we played against Al Rayel, who was from Lebanon. So they had their Lebanese flags and Filipino flags and like loud and crazy. And like, so to go out there and win that championship and bring that trophy back to the Philippines, I think was like a time stamp in my life where I'm like, okay, that time is frozen in moment, frozen in time. And I'll always cherish that, because once we got back, like we were like on this like mini tour, like CNN Philippines, ESPN, like we're on TV, you walk to a restaurant, you see the game on TV, people are like giving you hugs. Like it was dope, man. And I met some great friends out there, 30 Raverna and Kiefer and, Juan, like all my really good friends. Like it was dope.
It sounds like international basketball has a little bit more patriotism towards the country than the specific team. Whereas in America with NBA, it's every team's a little bit more tribal, but it's also commercialized very heavily. So it's kind of diluted in that sense of country patriotism.
Yeah, so I think from a standpoint of like, so when we play in certain countries, so like if we're playing in the Philippines against other Filipino teams, like then it's kind of like stagnant. It replicates kind of like the NBA. Mm-hmm. People have their favorites, they go for this team or that team. But then when you play in like what are called cups, then it becomes like, a little bit more of a like you're cheering for your country type of feel. So it's fun.
And how was your play throughout this entire, we'll just say international experience? I would assume if you're playing for the team, you're generally probably starting. Yeah. Has your play changed depending on the various teams and countries that you have been implemented into?
Yeah, so I've usually just been kind of like asked to score, make plays, just kind of like be a vocal, be a leader, and stuff like that. That's kind of been my role. That's been my niche from playing overseas thus far. But I do see a lot of people in the basketball industry from an overseas standpoint go to certain teams and be asked to do something completely different than what they've done. But usually that's for like you're playing for a way bigger team, probably a way bigger contract. You know what I mean? They may go, hey, look, we just want you to rebound. You know what I mean? But they're paying you $600,000-$700,000 just to rebound. You know what I mean? Or $200,000 just to rebound, whatever the case is, and like. So, and in that case, it's like, yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? I'll just do whatever you ask me to do. So it can vary. But for me, it's kind of like been like the same, just being, hey, make plays, score the ball, be a tall guard, do your thing, lead us, let's win games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's been fun.
That's very rewarding. So what team are you playing for now or next? I know you mentioned that you tried out for some teams. If you can disclose it, that's cool. If not, then I understand as well.
Yeah, no. So I actually just signed to go to Kuwait to play for Al Arabi. So I'm excited about that.
Congrats.
I'll probably leave here in September or sometime like that. So I've been to Kuwait as a kid, but I haven't been as an adult. So it's going to be interesting. They have like a whole lot of restrictions, a whole lot of like laws that are different than what is normal to us here. Mm-hmm. But I think I've just been looking at it as an experience to go to a new country, play for a new team, hopefully bring them a championship, have a whole lot of fun. Actually, one of my really good friends, Desmond Hubert, that played at University of North Carolina, signed as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and me and him are really close, so he'll be over there with me on my same team. So I'm sure we'll be able to win a lot of games and have a lot of fun and just find out how to adapt to the culture. I think that's the one thing that I learned from one of my mentors. He's a chameleonaire. You know what I mean? Like he knows how to blend into multiple situations and fit in well. And I think that's why I've seen success playing overseas, not within just basketball. That's not how I define success, but just with like building like rich friendships and relationships with people over there, is because when I got there, just adapting their culture and like really embracing it has been amazing. So I expect to do that in Kuwait and see what it brings.
Can only imagine playing in Kuwait. To me, if I was playing overseas, it would seem like a rush, a dopamine rush, because you're probably in each country for what, 6 months at a time,
7 to 8 months.
Yeah, and then you go on to the next team. So it's like you're literally getting to see the world. That's the experience that's kind of implemented on top of it.
Right.
That's a beautiful component to it. Do you see yourself playing international basketball for the foreseeable future, or are you just kind of along the ride for now and seeing what unfolds?
No, I think that I'll probably play to somewhere 33, 35, honestly. And then, I mean, I want to play into like the I don't want to say love, but just kind of like when I feel fulfilled. Like, hey, like I fulfilled what I wanted to do on this walk of basketball, and now I'm ready to give back, which I already do give back, but like maybe go coach or figure out what's my next move. I have some like, some side hustles like Airbnbs and Turo and those sorts of things. So like, it'll be interesting to see like where I'm at in the next 3 to 4 years and what I'm doing and where, what I've accomplished.
And particular to your experience, you've similarly gone through this already once, right? Towards the end of your UNLV basketball days. So for you, you're not going to be like that industry nightclub worker who's working into their 40s, kind of holding on to the last string of identity. You're very personally aware of when that feeling is going to dissipate.
Yep.
To move on.
It's like, all right, peace, mic drop. I'm out. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be like so ready, like, hey, look, I'm done. I'm ready to hang it up. Let's do something else. So and like I said, I think it's just amazing to know that we all can do stuff outside of our comfort zone and do really well. I mean, you told me how you transitioned into doing a podcast, and like I'm sure to a certain extent this was out of your comfort zone, but like look at the success you've had, and like that leap of faith you took is like put you in amazing situations, and you're just going to continue to grow. Like next time I come back home, like this may be like a whole freaking.
Oh yeah, we'll be in a different spot probably.
Like a whole, like a two-story building. And I'm like, hey, trying to call your phone. I can't even get in touch with you. I'm like, hey man, like what you doing? It's like, man, I'm too busy.
Isn't it? It's so cool though to look back from your journey, right? For you, probably your earliest basketball days and seeing like how you couldn't make a shot. And for me, it's like going to episode 0 and how the tone is so monotone and there's so many grammatical errors. And then to just see yourself progress over time, you look at it and you're like, is that me? Yeah. Is that me now? Like it's so beautiful. And then transitioning and pivoting along the way, because both of us are entrepreneurs. We started on our entrepreneurial journeys pretty early. And to be able to put yourself into all these different industries and markets that are happening, eventually we're gonna create something so specific to us that no one else can replicate, right? Anyone could be a podcaster. Anybody could be a basketball player if you put effort into it. But not many people can create a business that's a multi-billion-dollar business or $1 million where they can combine all of their skills along their journey and then build something constructive.
Right.
Which I think is the ultimate goal for everyone.
100%.
Unless you want to be like a YouTuber, which is the route for now. But I think the cool thing of me with content creation and you with being a basketball athlete is that we use that as leverage at the end of the day. Like, yes, we make money. It's not life-changing money, but the life-changing money comes from using that brand that we've built to do something else. Right. And that's what a lot of people tend to miss a lot.
Right.
Because they just want to get that bag.
They just want to get that bag. They want to run it up fast.
Is there anything outside of basketball that interests you a lot? Do you have any other hobbies or anything?
I don't know, man. Like I'm an oxymoron. I like everything in its opposite for the most part. So like I feel like there's so many like cool, interesting things that I like to do that I'm like so in flow sometimes where I don't even realize that those are things that I love to do. I just am always usually willing to do certain things and enjoy them for the moment. But giving back is something that I'm really passionate about.
Charity work?
Yeah, like throwing like basketball camps, giving back, teaming up with like various like brands or companies to bridge the gap between like, you know, kids and something cool. Like I'll do like a basketball camp and instead of it being like just a basketball camp, I'll take them out to get food. Well, like one time I did one here, we went to the Strip, we went to UNLV. I teamed up with Pretty Dunn. I don't know if you remember Pretty Dunn. He's an artist out here based in Las Vegas. Teamed up with him and Zappos and Vans, and we did one-of-one custom Van shoes. So each kid got like one-of-one custom Van shoes. They got T-shirts. Got food, and I mean it was really dope and it was really amazing because I felt like it wasn't just like your standard camp. It was like a twist, and it was like me taking some of the things that I learned in nightlife or learned while helping out with the festival and like playing basketball, and like I can like take a little piece of all these walks of lives that I engage in and like create something new for like kids or an experience and stuff like that. So creating experiences is really cool for me. I love it.
No wonder why you came to Vegas. Vegas is like becoming the experience capital of the world.
So I love creating experience, and I love like putting people in position to create to create experiences. And I think that's what made UnXommon so successful, that somebody would come in and be like, hey, I know how to write. And we go, okay, cool, we're going to find a job for you. And like somebody would come in and be like, hey, I know how to draw. Okay, we're gonna find. And like we looked up, it's like 15 of us, and it was like, okay, this company can do everything. You know what I mean? It's like because we're just like anybody can come in and anybody is great, and we want you and you. And so like I think that's what made it so cool, and it was a very good family aspect. So we're just creating experiences.
Is the revitalization of UnXommon on the back burner at all? Have you thought about bringing that back throughout maybe wherever your next destination may lie?
Yeah, so like I actually hung out with a few of the founding members last night, and like so I definitely think there's a possibility that it'll come back to some degree somehow. Like I said, everybody from UnXommon is really doing something super dope on their own. So I really want to start a group text and be like, okay, cool. Everybody, like in the next 2 years, save up as much money as you can, and we're going to come back to Vegas and do like something really dope and like start a company and like see where it goes. Because people are like becoming masters of their craft now. Like I'm seeing some of the people from UnXommon that are like crushing it. Like, and so like, it's just like, man, like in 2 years from now, like we'll be in a place to do something really cool if we wanted to.
I'm going to have to see a Kendrick basketball camp festival of some sort.
Right. Some like crazy
you
wild thing.
have each person setting up their own distinctive basketball camp in different corners. Right. And then you can walk back and forth like in downtown area, something like that.
That's an experience, man. That's what I think what it's all about, is creating experiences.
Yeah, and that's, as I mentioned before, Vegas right now, it's the entertainment capital of the world, but it's becoming the experience capital of the world, right? Yeah. Our generation, we don't we're looking for experiences. We're looking for skill-based gaming, alternative experiences. We don't want to just sit in one spot. And now with the rise of social media and the creative economy, those who are able to adopt the internet cultures or internet communities into their business structure are going to be those who succeed.
Oh, 100%.
How would you describe your internet community that surrounds you? I know you have some followers on throughout all your channels. How would you describe your community?
Fun, cool, chill. You know what I mean? Like loyal, just from the standpoint of like they're all, I feel like my friends. Even if I don't know them, like if people hit me up, I'm always constantly like responding back to people, like, and not just like a small like, oh, okay, like. I've had like kids hit me up and go, hey, you know, I'm thinking about playing basketball. Like, what's your advice? And I'm like on YouTube for an hour, like looking up YouTube videos for them and like writing out, you know, like different drills and stuff that I think they can do. And, you know, or people will hit me up and like, hey, man, I remember you threw this event back in Vegas, or I remember you did parties. Like, I'm thinking about getting into parties. What do you think? And so I think that's the interesting thing is that people that follow me on social media know me from so many different walks of lives that the following are like basketball people, nightlife people, club owners, doctors, like, you know what I mean? It's just so like random, like, and it matches, I feel like what I attract, which is like, you know, a lot in is opposite, you know what I mean? Like just good, genuine people that come from different backgrounds.
Yeah, that's what you did mention that earlier too.
Yeah.
It's important. I'm very similar too. I have like a crypto community, Vegas community, entrepreneurship. And sometimes you're like, how do I intersect all of these people? But then at the end of the day, you're just like, I'm just going to be myself. Like, fuck it. If you follow me, you follow me. If not, I'm going to try to help everyone. And also communicating with those who follow you, but you've never met. It's such a weird experience. It's different. But I've noticed that I connect much easier with internet friends than sometimes people in real life, outside of the podcasting, of course. But I think it's because you share like a common interest, where it's like in school, K through 12, and even college, you're kind of forced around to be around a lot of people. I'm sure you probably haven't got along with every single teammate that you ever had, but you have to force to work with them and have a compromise, where online it's like the compromise, either your friends or fuck off kind of the idea.
No, I definitely agree with that. I also think like it's interesting the status that people are attracted to from like social media, and like that's what makes them engage with you. Like you'll meet somebody in person. Like back in the day, and I say like we're like super old, but back in the day you walk up to someone, you have a conversation with them, and you decide, okay, if I like this person or not. But you had to at least engage to some capacity to even, you know, figure out if you wanted to grab a beer with them, or if you wanted to invite them over to the party, or if you wanted to do anything. Nowadays, like you try to talk to somebody and they just like totally ignore you, but then they'll like follow you on Instagram and like see your entire life and they go, okay, cool, this person's worth me talking to because they're not weird and they're not crazy, they're not this, because they were in Hollywood this day and then they were hanging out with these people that I know, and like people start to connect dots and then kind of like decide if you're friend worthy via social media.
Isn't that suck? Yeah, the vanity metrics have really taken hold with inflated follower counts, and some of the best guests that I've had, or best performing ones, are people who have like minimal followers, but it means that every one of their followers engages with them actively.
Exactly.
So, and nothing's really inflated.
Exactly.
It sucks that the digital representation is overtaking the physical representation that of somebody right in front of you.
And it's like, it sucks because I'm like such a like in front of you person. Like I suck at social media conversations, like, but in front of you, like I can talk all day. Like even like texting, I'm not the best at texting, but like if I hop on a phone call, like I'm like a road runner. I'm like running through conversations, like hopping over hurdles to get to different conversations. Like, so like I really, I really hope that there's some type of shift. Like I hope someone does an event where somebody steal this idea. I really hope somebody does an event where they put fake name tags on. You get there, you have to put a name on that's a fake name tag. It's not your name. They take your phone and they give you a coin that you can purchase a drink with, but not yourself. You have to purchase a drink for someone else. And I feel like in like a Polaroid cameraman. he would just come around and take Polaroid camera pictures. And like, I feel like that will force people to go, hey, I know your name isn't Bob because nobody's name is real
Bob,
here.
yeah.
So what's your name? And you go, oh, my name is this. And okay, cool. Like, so what do you do? Da, da, da. Okay, man, I got this coin. I got to buy a drink for somebody. You want a drink? Cool. You know what I mean? Like, and that engagement, which is still like an experience that I feel like back in the day would just happen organically. But now you have to create a setting for people not to sit in the corner and look at their phones for hours upon hours.
This was an issue that we faced in my fraternity days. Half the fraternity guys would be very social out there. Then the other half would kind of just sit in the corner, and you'd have to actively engage with them and kind of bring the party to them. But then once they open up, then they're all over it. Then they're out on the dance floor in the backyard talking to people. But some people take a little bit more to open up, whether it's like the gamification of a social setting or whatever it is. Maybe that's just because we grew up with video games. So we prefer things to be gamified in a sense.
Yeah. So it's just super interesting. So like, I don't know. I love that, that person to person like encounter is really cool.
If I suspect, or if I had to predict, I think your next business is going to have some sort of experimental model attached to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's all I kind of like think about, and everything that I do is like how to create experiences, how to create memories, how to create memorable times, not only for me but for someone else. And because it's cool, because when we get older, man, like these are the things that we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, we probably won't be able to run the fastest. We probably won't be able to do everything at max power, but it'll be cool to come to Vegas at 75 and go, hey, man, you remember that podcast? That was cool. Mm-hmm. Like, you remember we talked about, we were crazy. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about so many different things now. Like, we're doing so much more cooler stuff now. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and it's from experience. It's from, you know, a feeling that you got from an experience. And I think it's very important to curate those for your future self.
Yep. That's at the end of the day, life is a one-player game, right? You die on your deathbed alone. You may have your family and everyone next to you, but that's you. And when I was younger, I used to browse the internet looking for letters of old people kind of writing to themselves, their younger selves, and saying, this is a list of 100 things I wish I would have told my younger self. And every time the most common answer is always like, life is always, or sometimes you will focus on the things that you didn't do rather than things that you did do. Like, you just need to go out there and kind of be a yes person. Yeah. Agree to everything, because you never know what's going to transpire after, right? I have a connection with you. Maybe you bring a guest on, maybe you come back, and then we build some sort of experience together. And it's like, you never know unless you go out there and put yourself out there and try. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the beauty of it all, is that those are, what you just said are the possibilities of. It's endless. Before we get out of here, Jelan, I got one final question. Same question I ask everybody. What does Las Vegas mean to you? Las Vegas means lights, love, great energy, and experience. And that's why I love this place, because I've created so many different relationships and families, small pockets. I call them families and small pockets. And they've all been fueled by light, love, you know what I mean, and embrace. And that's what the city has done for me, has created light, love, embrace, and good vibes ever since I've been here. Well said. Where do I send all of the listeners and those watching on YouTube to follow you along your journey? So basically, you can follow me, Jelan Kendrick, on Instagram, Jelan Kendrick. I'm lightly active on Twitter up under Jelan Kendrick. But those are two places that you can catch me the most. I'm gonna have to bug you on Twitter, because that's where I'm most active. I'm gonna have to start tweeting you pretty often. I just go there. I'm the guy that just swipes up and just reads all the funny tweets. I follow all the great people. Yeah, it's crazy how Twitter is still free. Like, it's such an amazing app. But thank you for coming on, man. I'm truly blessed to have this opportunity to speak with you, learn more about your story. And after watching you play basketball for a handful of years while I was in college, now it's cool to put the personality attached to the physical component. So thank you for coming on, dude. You're going to have such a bright future. I'm glad that you pulled yourself out of those woes and decided that you wanted more out of life, and now you're continuing it. It's a very inspirational story. So thank you for sharing everything.
Oh man, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.